Welcome back to Movies TV Mad, and you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. So welcome to Tuesday's edition of the DC Universe Daily Live, and it is Peter Gunn, Pete Safran's, and James Gunn. Is it Peter Safran? It is Peter Safran, isn't it? Yeah, I've got their names wrong. So let's start again. It is Peter Safran and James Gunn's first day in charge of DC Studios, and I couldn't be more excited. Ronnie Dodge, morning, Mick. First day of DC Studios. Yes, it's a launch. It's a go. I'm going to discuss what I expect from these two men. Yes, some of the stuff's going to be a little bit controversial because I think there's certain things we need to clarify. But look what came through the post. Look at that. Look at that. The brand new Green Lantern animated movie. Don't know nothing about this. I will be watching this later on, my DC friends. And Battle of the Super Sons. So I shall be checking out these Marvels later. And I've got an unrelated DC Blu-ray as well, which is the Jurassic World Dominion, which I haven't seen yet. So looking forward to seeing that. It's the extended extended edition. Villager, hi Mick, I'm at work but still tuning in. Well, thank you for your view, thank you for your interaction and comment. It is all absolutely appreciated. So again, welcome to the DC Universe Daily Live. It is James Gunn's and Peter Safran's first day, and I want to discuss what I think they should start doing. Now, it's clear that they've been developing ideas since the summer, but there's one thing they have to do especially, and that's clarification. They need to put Zack Snyder and his fans out of their misery one way or another. Either they announce that they're going to go with Snyder and give him some kind of corner in the DC universe, or that Zack's doing his thing at Netflix, they're doing their things at DC, and they're moving on. One way or the other, this has to be clarified because the past 10 years have been absolutely divisive and ridiculous. And I don't want to be going through this new era with people not knowing what's going on here, what's canon. We don't want anything. We need new canon. We absolutely need new canon. So that's one of the first things that James and Peter has to do here. And that's absolutely, clarify the Snyderverse situation. I think it's utterly important that there is a clarification here, Villager. Hopefully the propaganda merchants stop. Hopefully, because, well, maybe they'll never stop, even if they're told that there's no chance, or if there is a chance. I mean, even if Snyder was given a corner somewhere, those people will still be telling you that the Snyderverse is better than anything else, that Man of Steel is better than Superman the movie. Let me give you some breaking news. No superhero movie is better than Superman the movie. The very first, groundbreaking, done without technology. The technology of today, people say Snyder's Krypton is better than Donner's Krypton. Donner didn't have computer-generated images. What Donner did was all on a stage. It was fucking built, and it was sensational. And that film and that director still inspires creatives today. Ronnie Dodge, you think we will get any news today? I totally agree with Zack. If he's coming back, great. If not, let us move on and enjoy the DCEU. Yeah, listen, for Zack and his fans, and for the platform as a whole, and, DC Studios, they need to clarify the situation. If it's a no, people are going to be angry. Some people are going to be happy. And, that divisive situation will continue, I'm sure. But at least if there's clarification, because you can't keep on doing this. It's ridiculous. We don't want toxicity coming from DC Studios. We just want clarification. So do I think there'll be any news today, Ronnie? I don't know. I think we'll definitely get a welcome to DC Studios tweet. I think James will tweet one little tweet. I'm not sure if we're going to get big groundbreaking news. I mean, in a perfect world, we'd get a slate today, but that's probably not possible, even though I think they've been doing stuff and having discussions throughout the summer. It's clear in the summer they were caught talking to Adby and DeLuca. Peter and James were. So that kind of adds up with the reshoots for the Flash movie during the summer as well. Ronnie Dodge. Henry's comment sounds like we're getting a comic book Superman finally. Look, Henry is really putting it out there what he wants. And I think, this guy is not going to stop. And if people want to be upset with him, certain people want to be upset with him, there's nothing you can do about it. It's pretty clear that Henry is in charge of this entire fucking gig. He keeps on giving credit to his representatives at $7 and to The Rock for making this possible. But I would say without David Zaslav, without John Stankey, the AT&T CEO, looking at the Emmerich kind of leadership of Warner Brothers Pictures and saying, enough is enough. We can't deal with this. We're a cable and wireless company, for fuck's sake. This is a civil war. I've got to do something. This company is going to implode. So he was looking for a merger. He went to his good friend David Zaslav, who he knew was ruthless, and built up Discovery Plus from nothing and said, can we talk about a merger? And David was very happy to do so. He knew what David Zaslav is capable of. Within months, Zaslav has got rid of that toxic leadership at Warner Brothers Pictures. Now we've got Adby and DeLuca. We've got the new DC studios, as promised. We've got Gunn and Peter Safran in charge of that. These are all very important decisions for sure. So Henry's comments, basically what those comments show is that this guy is running this gig. And I think that's really, really good. He's talking a good game. And when you talk a good game, you've got to deliver. Jonathan Garcia, let's go DCU. Can't wait. I nearly said DCEU there because it's a habit, isn't it? Villager, I'm laughing at all the propaganda merchants who claim Zaslav would be useless. Well, listen, it took time. You couldn't expect a man to magically get rid of these people and reset the balance, but within months, my friend, they're out. They are out. There is Sarnos' feet didn't touch the ground before Zaslav even got there. Emmerich was wheedled out slowly because he was really, really difficult to get rid of. I can tell you that from my friends in Hollywood. They said to me that he really, really was impossible to get rid of. And what Zaslav did there was amazing. So it's absolutely incredible what Zaslav has achieved. And this is just the beginning. And that's not just in terms of DC. As WB as a whole is going to change fundamentally because it has to, or it's going to go out of business. Harry Potter, the other IPs, individual independent movies as well. You're going to see HBO-style shows on HBO Max, as it always should be, with, big scale, big budgeted and, low-budget independent movies all going throughout the cinematic system, which is the way it should have always been. And so, yes, it is day one. Remember the day, November the 1st. That is our anniversary of the launch of DC Studios. It has launched today, and who knows what's going to be said. Yesterday, James Gunn wished us all a happy Halloween with a picture of Deadman. And I did a lot of research about Deadman. And yes, James, if that's a hint, and I don't know if it is or not, I'm interested in Deadman being involved. And this is what you get when you get James Gunn. You get hype. He communicates with the fans. Peter Safran will communicate through the fans via the marketing of these movies. So it's very, very exciting. Two very clever guys. One's a filmmaker. One respects the filmmaking and visionary process. So it's very, very interesting what we do here going forward. And nobody knows. Listen, nobody knows what kind of slate they're going to deliver. But I think with the cancellation of Stargirl, whatever you think is going to happen, you've got to take those assumptions to one side. This is a new leadership. They've got to make the right decisions. I need to correct Zachary Levi. He made a statement saying he's very happy that his good friend Peter Safran is now in charge of DC Studios. And he hopes that means he'll get more Shazam movies and a chance for Shazam and Black Adam to fire. Well, if you want that opportunity, my friend, your movies have to make money. There's no friendships here, my friend. This can't be an old boys routine. Make great movies, make big money, and you'll get more. If you don't, the Hamadaverse and the old DCEU is dead. And so Black Adam, a very, very small character in the DC pantheon, is probably going to make, after China, if it gets China, around 500 million. I think this is solid. I don't think this is great. We know it's not great. We know it's not record-breaking. I think it's solid at the very least. They did spend a lot of money, as we saw, on marketing. The marketing budget is astronomical just to get this thing viewed. So, yeah, the profit margins are not going to be much. It'll be interesting what Zaslav thinks of this, but I don't think this film was ever going to get much past 500 million. And it's done well to do so. The movie prior to Zaslav arriving was a clusterfuck. I should know. I saw the test screening. And there was some good elements of action there, but it was a shit movie. It really was. It was B movie. You know what I thought about? You know what I'd like to do in the superhero genre? I actually would like to write and direct a silent superhero movie. You know, like the old silent movies, and just have the dialogue popping up. That would be very, very groundbreaking. A silent superhero movie. Maybe I'll tag James Gunn and suggest that to him later on. It's groundbreaking. It's different. It's interesting, isn't it? Anyway, I had that little idea, probably a shit idea, but yeah. So, yes, a new dawn has arrived, and, you know, there's going to be a lot of big changes here. But, yes, there needs to be clarification about the Snyderverse once and for all. I mean, it's not a thing right now. It's not. It's not a thing at this moment in time. They released the Snyder Cut. It was done. The then leadership made their position extremely clear. So the first thing, clarification on the Snyderverse. They need to come up with a slate. They need to decide whether they're going to continue with the old DCEU or put it to bed and start again, or leap off from the Flash movie with a new timeline, as Hamada was going to do. But it's not rocket science here. They're clearly going to create a DC, calling it DC Universe means it's going to be a universe, a connected universe. So that's not rocket science. But, and this is what audiences want today, thanks to Feige Marvel Studios, they want a connected tissue. They want to see characters from one film crossover with others. Origin movies are not like the origin movies we remember, like Superman the movie, Batman 89. Now, you know, superhero movies are ensembles, and even the origin ones. I mean, you know, Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever is an ensemble. You know, we're getting Neymar in that movie. Hashling, me, yo, Mike. Ronnie Dodge. Oh, yo, Hashling, me. Ronnie Dodge, I feel we're moving on from Zach. That universe was the old one. The new one is DCU and DC Studios. I don't really know, Ronnie, what they'll decide. They could give Snyder a corner to do his own thing, not necessarily continue what he was going to do. Or they may say, yes, as you say, we've moved on. At this moment, it's weird because Gunn was quoted in saying months ago that he respects the Snyderverse fans for fighting for a director instead of criticizing a director. That could mean absolutely nothing. Apparently, he actually months ago apologized to Ray Fisher himself, which is insane, but, you know, good for him, good for him. I mean, he doesn't have anything to apologize for, by the way. He hasn't done anything wrong, but it's good that the guy now running, you know, DC Studios, or co-running with Peter Safran, was humble enough to apologize to Ray. So that's kind of interesting as well, yeah. And so we'll see what happens there. I'm not going to go left or right on that because I simply don't know. This is a new era. Ronnie Dodge, maybe let him direct a DC Black Label movie, not mess with the main universe. Maybe that could be a thing they could look at. It's going to, as I say, the decisions that happen going forward are going to be very, very interesting. Decision one, bringing back Henry Cavill as Superman. Great decision. They should greenlight officially a Superman movie soon, and we should hear a title and a writer or writers and a director or a writer and director. We'll have to wait and see what they do there. But from what Henry's saying, it looks like that's going to happen. Villager, I'm sad because Black Adam had potential, but he was too nice. I wanted a dark anti-hero character. this is the next thing. I'm glad you've mentioned that. That's a good spot, Villager, because I want to talk about this next. There should never have ever have been a Black Adam movie. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I'm glad they brought Superman via that movie back. But ultimately, we should have had a Shazam trilogy with Black Adam in the background in the first two movies, pulling the strings, sending Savannah, manipulating other villains to go for Shazam. Then in the third movie, they fucking fight. Believe you me, if Black Adam was the villain in the Shazam trilogy, each one of those movies would have doubled its box office from the first movie. And now I'm hearing from Humberto Gonzalez from The Wrap that he didn't even want that little section in Shazam. Dwayne The Rock Johnson didn't even want them to mention Black Adam like when the Wizard did mention him, didn't mention his name, but mentioned him. He didn't even want that mention in Shazam, which is absolutely ridiculous. Villager, that's a good idea, Mick, but The Rock has too big of an ego. Look, you're absolutely right. And the film's going to make around 500 million. Has it been a worthwhile thing? I don't know. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed going to see it. I've only done a non-spoiler review at this point because so many things are dropping and I've been distracted. We will get there, I promise you. It may be after the horses bolted, but we will live do a proper analysis of the film. I don't personally think there's that much to analyze from the movie. There's a lot of good kind of Easter eggy things and interesting things that we can get excited about for the DCU going forward. Ronnie Dodger, I hope James and Peter talk to Dwayne and say you need Shazam and where the boss is now. Yeah, listen, look, if The Rock was such a big pull, his film would be making $1 billion, wouldn't it? So the film's making Shazam money, which means even if Elon Musk was playing Black Adam, this movie would have made the same money. It doesn't really matter. He hasn't pulled any extra people in. It's made Shazam money. That's it. And believe you me, I think the characters, Freddie Freeman, are more popular than The Rock are. I really do. I got more of a buzz out of Freddie Freeman, right, than most of the characters in Black Adam. Because I don't think they spent time on the characters. I was speaking to like a JSA fan on Twitter, and I said Smallville did a much better job with the JSA than Black Adam did. Villager, I wonder if Zachary Levi and The Rock behind the scenes have tension between them. I don't think Zach is happy with The Rock, and I know he treats how he treats Shazam. Well, I don't even think they've ever met before. David F. Sandberg said ages ago, there's no communication between the Black Adam production and the Shazam production. That is ridiculous, and that can't continue. And this is something that James and Peter will knock on their head straight away. James has learned everything from Kevin at Marvel Studios, where everything's connected, everything's one world. This is the kind of language we need. So that will change. So listen, they all pretend they're good mates, but we know, look, you work somewhere, I work somewhere. Do you like everyone you work with? No, you don't. I used to work in a fucking supermarket, the Co-op, behind the deli counter. There was this old bald guy who used to make such a mess when I got there. The geezer used to get on my nerves, but also he used to tell me great stories, and I enjoyed that. So there's always people that piss us off at work. They're only normal. And also, when we go at celebrities and famous directors like they're bad people, well, listen, we're not here to judge whether they're good or not. We're here to consume their shit, right? So I don't really care if they go to church every Sunday or they kick the kitten when they come home. Ronnie Dodger, I hope we get an official logo Twitter account today for DC Studios. Yes, so do I. That's something that should be launched on launch. So these are things that are going to be very exciting. These are things that should transpire. There should be a bit of buzz around Twitter around 4 p.m. UK time. I'm here in Cyprus around 6 p.m. Cyprus time. That's when I'm going to be on Twitter. And obviously tonight on the live show, hopefully there'll be a lot of things for us to react to, because this could be a very exciting, historic day. We could get a few announcements, or we could just get, hello, we're here, which I understand, because this is the beginning of the journey. I haven't tweeted James Gunn asking for this, asking for that, asking the other, because I don't see the point. They've already got a plan. Their plan is going to be what they think they should do. You know, there's a lot of movies out there that nobody asked for that did really well. Who asked for Ghost? Nobody. It made a lot of money. You know, who asked for Apocalypse Now? No one. It's a beloved film today. So it's not necessarily what people ask for. It's about them as experienced industry professionals to create something successful, but not just successful, something that the audience can enjoy. That's their job. It's not their job to keep on looking at our requests and giving us what we want. There's some, you know, people have been talking about Lobo. That can come, but first you've got to get you've got to get the cement and the foundations right. And so it was right to launch Superman in 2013, but then there was no foundations because they decided Superman has to be in the real world and he has to snap Zod's neck. What really should have happened at the end of Man of Steel, Zod, the Kryptonians, and even Superman should have been sucked into the Phantom Zone. In the second movie, it should have been in the Phantom Zone. In the third movie, the Zone has escaped with them, and there's a big fight between Zod, the Kryptonian, Superman, and the Zoners. That would have been a natural, awesome Superman trilogy. Now, I even said in my fan fiction, I even put Faora and Colonel Hardy as having a little romance because they started off with the banter. Great banter, by the way, in the first Man of Steel. There's lots of great things you could have done with a Man of Steel trilogy. We didn't get a Man of Steel trilogy. We got the Snyderverse. We didn't get a Man of Steel trilogy. Man of Steel was betrayed from the moment Nolan and Goya left the franchise. They started this. This all was born while David Goyer was writing The Dark Knight Rises. He had an idea for a Superman alien invasion story. It was he who created this franchise, not Zack Snyder. He was asked to come and direct it, and that's the difference. And I don't think he was even that enthused at first. He wasn't sure you could make Superman relatable. I'm not sure if Man of Steel actually makes Superman relatable. I think that in 1978, Superman, after Superman the movie, was pretty relatable. That movie made Superman relatable. And people can argue about that and call it an old movie, but these are the facts. Superman the movie is how people want to see Superman, right? Christopher Reeve killed it. Even the flying. When I saw Black Adam flying in the cinema, I thought, fuck me, no one's topped how Christopher Reeve flew in a 70s fucking movie. It's not just the visuals, how he flies in that movie. Some of them are dated, of course, but it's the way he moves his arms, Chris. It's his body shape and his body language. It's beautiful. And you can tell when The Rock's flying that he's not actually flying. There's not much effort there. And the last time I saw good flying in a modern day movie, actually, was seeing Neo fly. And I found out, actually, that they decided in Superman Returns not to use the Matrix special effects people, and they decided to use Sony instead. This was a big mistake. So, yeah. And so, look, there's all these things, but now we have the opportunity to tell good stories and, you know, connect everything together. This is something they were looking to do in the Snyderverse in the early days, but Batman versus Superman, you know, put pay to that. And I love Batman versus Superman, and I'm sorry I have to keep on repeating myself that I like these Snyder movies, but I think, you know, it wasn't the way to go at it. I'm sorry that I have to repeat myself because I have to remind people that you can criticize someone that you like as long as it's a constructive criticism. So anyway, a new day has dawned and we have new leadership. And the most beautiful thing about this is the structure. Zaslav, DeLuca and Adby, and then Gunn and Safran. So by having DeLuca and Adby, DeLuca knows the comic book industry. And Zaslav knows that he wants to protect the DC brand. So if Gunn decides to do something dumb, right, and those other bodies say, no, mate, you ain't doing that. You know, if you want to have a black Dick Grayson, no, mate, you're not doing that. You know, You're not doing that. Dick Grayson isn't black, right? Maybe you could get away with a Latino Dick Grayson, but we're not doing that. So things like that, Zaslav, DeLuca, and Adby will jump on. So it's good that even though James and Peter are running things, that there's other people there policing them and hands-on to make sure they don't make dumb decisions. I'm not trying to say they would make dumb decisions, but now, where before you had Goya Nolan, who left, who come up with a good plan, by the way, still problematic, but it was a good plan, and then they let Snyder, an independent movie auteur, do what the fuck he wanted in BVS. It absolutely went wrong, and we haven't been able to dig ourselves out of that hole since. The fandom has become divisive. The fandom's only divisive because of what that leadership in the past of WB and the decisions they made. It's not really the consumer's fault. They can only react to what they see on the big screen. And the conduct from Warner Brothers and the previous leaderships and the multitudes of it, seeing Snyder going, Snyder and Ray Fisher and WB Pictures arguing during the build-up to the Snyder Cut was the most pathetic, infantile thing I have ever seen. But now we have a group of people there. They've been put in by the new CEO, David Zaslav. So that's very, very important as well. So this is a unified outfit now, not a bunch of sideshow circus clowns. And this is important because we all want DC to succeed. We all want to see the best DC content. James Gunn does, Peter Safran does, David Zaslav does, Pamela Adby does, and Mike DeLuca does. And us, the fans, also want that. We want to work together with James and Peter and the other guys. We want this to be a team effort. And as I say, we want the best thing possible. So personally, going back to Black Adam, I wouldn't have commissioned a Black Adam movie. He would have been the villain. In the Shazam movie, the first one, either by being in the background in the first couple of movies or having a straight out fight in the first movie, which basically, would have been nearly $1 billion movie because The Rock versus Zachary Levi would have been fun. But in truth, maybe The Rock should never have been cast as Black Adam. And this is what Dick Donner said about, when, the Saul Kynes and WB had the list of people who should play Superman back in the 70s. They even had Muhammad Ali. But if you cast Muhammad Ali as Superman, you see Muhammad Ali. So if Muhammad Ali was playing Black Adam, you'd only see Muhammad Ali, as fun as that would be. And this is the problem. Villager, well, I'm hoping The Rock gets off his high horse after his box office performance. Well, listen, there's a leadership there. And he's got, listen, The Rock, look, this isn't, if The Rock was Tom Cruise, I'd say, well, that's a problem. They have to listen to him. But he's not fucking Tom Cruise. He's The Rock. He isn't. He isn't Kevin Costner in his peak. He isn't Tom Cruise. He isn't one of those. He isn't even Brad Pitt, right? Let's be absolutely clear about this. So he can't dictate anything. And Superman isn't back because of him. Superman's back because David Zaslav took over the company and ordered Superman to be front and center. Now, yes, they were fighting for it all these years, but they never got it. Because if Emmerich was still here, there would be no Superman back. We'd still be going for the Black Clark Kent. Zaslav is the one who changed everything. And thank you to John Stankey, who is the CEO of AT&T, who went to Zaslav in the first place and knew something had to be done about these clowns. So, yeah. At the end of the day, in terms of the Black Adam box office, it's solid, it's slight, it's not a disaster, but it's not a huge success. It's a little bit of a profit margin. I'm not surprised by this. I didn't expect anything else, especially considering how short the movie is, how it feels like the sandwich without enough meat in it, the little development of the characters, the very little development of the JSA, and only having 2 OG members of the JSA when they could have just been wearing a Legion ring and all coming together. The reason they can't use Stargirl, because Stargirl is Jeff Johns' baby. He owns the kind of ticket on that quite a lot because he wasn't involved in that movie. They couldn't use her. And in fact, Jeff Johns has a lot of authority on a lot of the JSA characters. This is why Smallville was able to use more JSA characters in the backstory and everything that they did, more than Black Adam was able to do. And then you ask yourself, was it a good idea to bring the JSA into Black Adam in the first place? Villager Mick, can you tell us how bad the screening of Black Adam was? Very bad, very bad. It was a bad screening, and they knew it was a bad screening. And once Zaslav came in, he saw the reactions to those test screenings. I'm not the only one there, of course. So I don't think anyone else's opinion, and you saw it. You know, Batgirl had a better score on her test screening than Black Adam, and they shelved Batgirl. So that tells you everything. So you don't need me to tell you that. But yes, look, it wasn't good at all. Kind of the character stuff you saw in that, it was better. I mean, look, the movie we saw now is 100 times better than what you would have got if Emmerich remained in the job, because these are the mistakes. The Rock was allowed to bring in his own director and his own writers. Those people, now I like the director. I think he shot Superman beautifully, by the way, and he shot a great movie. But they had a lot of budgetary constraints and they had to go back and do things. And yes, I mean, that's why the movie is 2 hours and it looks like you could have had more and you didn't. Is because, you know, it's a mixture of going back and fixing things that are absolutely wrong with the movie. And that's the Hamadaverse. And that's kind of the problems we've had from day one. At least Man of Steel is a movie that didn't need an extended cut, because Snyder's movie was there, and that's only because Nolan was protecting the vision. When Nolan and Goya left, there was no one to protect Snyder. They cut half an hour out of that film. But ultimately, it was never going to happen. Snyder wasn't the one you put in that situation. And Snyder's someone you bring in a later date when you establish a connective mainstream franchise and you can have offshoots. He's not someone you say, all right, we want $1 billion a movie. We want it mainstream. He asks that because we've heard what Snyder says. I don't care about the mainstream audience. I care about my audience. Well, that proves you're the wrong person to run DC, because if you don't care about this logo, if you don't care about what this logo stands for, or the Wonder Woman logo, or the Batman logo, and you're having these people killing people left, right, and center. Let me be clear. Wonder Woman kills people in the comics. It's fine if she has a sword and a shield. It's fine that she kills. She's a ruthless fucking warrior, but she's also compassionate. She's not what Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman? It's not what Patty Jenkins and Linda Carter think. Patty Jenkins is kind of adapted in Wonder Woman 84, the Wonder Woman TV show. I'm surprised we didn't hear the music. Wonder Woman and her spinning around in a fucking circle. That's all we fucking needed. So yeah, Black Adam was not good before Zaslav got it kind of, basically, he made it a spectacle at least. It's not a movie with character and depth, but it's spectacle. And that spectacle covers up the problems with the movie. Well, it doesn't cover up because the critics saw it. It's pretty obvious that this is a movie that's been reworked. But the beautiful thing about Black Adam, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, Blue Beetle, the Flash movie, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, they're not Zaslav's problem. Zaslav has to release these movies. He has no choice. They're there. They have to be released. They will be released. And then what be done with that kind of era of the DCEU, and we cross over to the DCU, which will be a new timeline and a new franchise. So until we get through these movies, and this is, for me, this is even including the Batman 2 and the Joker Folie à Deux, until we get through all of this, we can't judge Gunn or Safran or Adbeil DeLuca or especially Zaslav, because we got to get through these movies, and there's going to be a lot of noise about box offices, but ultimately it doesn't matter. We know we have a future already. Villager, God, I hope Patty doesn't come back. Well, she's certainly threatening to come back, my friend. She's already said she's thinking of making more Wonder Woman movies. So I don't think she's coming back, but let's see. Sean Franklin, hi. Good morning, Sean Franklin. Good morning. Exclusively here from Cyprus. This is the DC Universe Daily Live. A very good morning to you. It is Tuesday morning. It is the 1st of November. And DC Studios is official. This is the first day of James Gunn's and Peter Safran's tenure in charge of the new DC studios as co-chairs. So it's a very exciting day. Let's see if we get any announcements. I don't know. I doubt it, but who knows? We can never predict what happens in this crazy fucking industry. So many things have changed since the marketing of Black Adam. We found out Superman was coming. Lots of exciting things. We've found out about James and Peter, about DC Studios. So everything's changed. So it's all about the future. And we just have to get through these Hamada movies, unfortunately, because there's a lot of them there and they just can't be dumped. You never know. One of them may be cancelled. Who knows? It is a really unpredictable world that we live in now. And because it's new leadership, they can just say, we don't want this. We don't want this. We don't want to go this direction. Villager, I think Shazam will be great. I trust David with my soul. David F. Sandberg is a very capable director. He made an awesome, visually stunning Shazam movie with under 100 million. That shows you how talented the man is. He's had a bigger budget this time, as he's been boasting about and joking about. So, yes, I've been hearing some solid... Look, I think it's going to be a solid movie at the very least. We get a Wonder Woman cameo at the end of the movie, a very good one, I think, and it works. You won't see her there for long or utter much, but it's great. And there's a lot of mentions of her within the movie as well. So, yeah. So I think that's going to be solid. And then you've got the other movies, and who knows what's going to happen with them. But I don't think these movies are going to bring the kind of box office that makes James Gunn and Peter and David Zaslav and Abdi and DeLuca go, wow, yeah, let's stick with the old DCEU. So anyone hoping for a salvation of the DC Extended Universe or the Hamadaverse from these movies, I think really hasn't been paying attention. I think the kind of box office you saw from Black Adam isn't going to be much different for Shazam Fury of the Gods, or, I mean, maybe the Flash movie can bring in a little bit more, or it could be an absolute fucking disaster at the box office. But I don't see anything amazing happening from these remaining Hamada movies. Now, having Superman cameos will obviously ingratiate those movies to the audience. But yeah, for me, it's about getting through all of this. I'll hype up the releases. I'll be great. I'll be happy to see these movies. But ultimately, these movies are not the future of this universe. No one sacks a DC film president like Walter Hamada and then carries on with his vision. Because if you wanted to carry on with the geezer's vision, you wouldn't have removed him. So that's one thing for people to understand. Things are going to change. We're going to go a different direction. It's going to be unified, the TV, the animation, the films, as I keep on saying. And this is what's going to happen. And that's extraordinarily a unique opportunity, an opportunity that wouldn't have happened if Stankey didn't go to Zaslav. And so we're very, very fortunate as DC fans that there is this new leadership. And we've got, look, a very exciting future as far as I'm concerned. And you know my opinions. I love Superman. He's my number one hero. Every Sunday I have something called a Superman Sunday around my house where I watch the documentaries. I watch a few Superman movies. That's how much Superman is an important character. And when you make any Superman media, it has to be unique. It has to be special. There's more Superman television shows than any other superhero. Right? Superman was the first comic book character. He had the first blockbuster superhero movie. Full of firsts. Superboy, the Lois and Clark show, Smallville, Superman and Lois. These are all things that have happened because this, despite what people will tell you, Superman is relevant to millions of people around the world. And the mainstream are ready to consume a great Superman movie if only someone will make it. Now, Henry Cavill understands this, obviously, from what he's saying. And hopefully the studio understand that we need a director who understands Superman, who wants to understand Superman, not recreate Superman. Give us who Superman is. Superman in 1938 was, a social justice warrior, not in a bad way. He would beat up mine owners who was bullying his employees. He was beating up husbands who were beating up their wives. This is who Superman was. And if I was doing a Superman movie, I'd show little snippets of those things happening within that movie, because that's the character's origins. It was later on via the radio show in the 50s, I think, or late 40s, where they kind of introduced Jimmy Olsen, the Daily Planet, Perry White instead of George Taylor, all the kind of stuff we know today was introduced via that radio show. And everyone used to sit around those radios. Imagine that. I think it's fascinating, the history of Superman. And I think he's so important, especially today, where everything's, either left or right. You hate something or you love something. Superman can bring us back to being decent human beings again. And as Henry said, when people finish watching that movie coming out the cinema, he wants them to be inspired to do a kindness for their fellow human beings. He wants them to make them feel that like they can fly. And these are good statements. This is what we want. But as I say, all the talk in the world won't deliver the Superman movie we all demand and expect. That's up to Henry, the studio, and whoever makes this damn thing. And it has to be a director that I feel personally as a fan that I can put my belief in. Now, there was a lot of kind of skepticism around Richard Donner when he was announced for Superman the movie. That's because he had done Omen and he wasn't making a lot of money. When the Salkinds offered him $1 million, was it $1 million? Was it 100 million? No, it was $1 million, I think. Back then, $1 million was a lot of money. For 2 movies, he thought his Christmases had come at once. But what Donner did, he said, right, we're not going to mess around with Americana, grandma's apple pie and white bread sandwiches, right? Superman is Superman. That's it. Make a great movie around him. Cast famous stars and, actors of the stage and screen by all means. But cast a Superman that we can think of as Superman and not a famous superstar, and create a world that people have been reading. The creators of Superman, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, cried when they saw that movie. And they were so grateful to Richard Donner that they gave him this Superman statue, which I think his family still have today. Of course, Richard Donner died earlier this year, which was very sad for me. He's the man who gave me Superman. He's the man who gave me Lethal Weapon. The man's a genius. And he had a lot of love in his heart. One of the great directors who really made, he taught me as a director, treat your cast and crew as a family, inspire them, don't belittle them, and try and create a unit. And this is what I did at the theatre company I'm at as well, because of Richard Donner and what he did on the set of Superman the movie. And removing him from that production, removing him from Superman 2 was one of the most dumbest decisions ever, because him and Tom Mankiewicz, who is really behind the Superman the movie screenplay, had plans for 4 or 5 Superman movies and the Supergirl movie. And by now, the Superman franchise, who knows where we could have been now because of those geniuses. But it didn't happen. And Superman was held back. And that's a shame. So these are my thoughts and feelings around Superman, around DC. I'm very much in love with DC, as I was in the early days of Smallville when I fell in love with DC and learned more about these DC worlds and characters and universes. And I'm still in love with it today, even though, as a fan, I have been broken so many times. I remember the BVS reactions coming through after I saw BVS and loved it. I really thought critics were going to like it, and they didn't. And the box office opening weekend was great, and then it had this huge drop, and there were so many divisive things being said. Very, very painful. Same thing with the first Suicide Squad, even though I thought it was solid. And unfortunately, it's been a very hard time since the inception of the DCEU, because people didn't make the right decisions. Because when you see the MCU making Marvel fans' dreams come true, and when you see DC really getting it wrong, turn after turn after turn, and when you see movies like Birds of Prey, when you see movies like Wonder Woman 84, who are really soiling without me being crude and using cruder words, the DC brand. And this is what David Zaslav is talking about when he talks about the DC brand. Protect it at all costs. And this is why Batgirl was shelved. I'd love to ask David Zaslav in layman's terms why he truly shelved Batgirl. I have a few ideas, why he shelved Batgirl. I still think ultimately it was the right decision. He could have invested more money to fix it, but clearly there's certain things about the movie, or maybe it's casting, that he wasn't happy about. Officially, they said it was nothing to do with Leslie Grace or the directors, but hey, they're not going to hate on them publicly. But no one was very respective of the decision David made, because nobody wants to lose their jobs at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why that was shelved. And I think it's been pretty obvious that it was nothing more than a CW pilot rather than a great movie. And this is the problem with DC under Hamada and since Man of Steel. These are the problems we keep on fucking getting. Making material that isn't the right material for a Central Universe, a mainstream franchise. And Zaslav put the hammer down and said, no. He drew a line. He said, no, I'm shelving Batgirl. We can't keep on doing this. You know, the critics and the media are upset that movie's shelved. They would have destroyed that movie in their reviews and on Rotten Tomatoes. And it would have been an embarrassment. And we all know that. So why release a movie? Isn't it better to put a stop to it before it's released and it embarrasses the name of DC yet again? I think so. And these are my views. So going forward, we need good, professional people with an imagination, intellect, and a production background to deliver the new DCU, to deliver a connective franchise that the fans can be proud of. And, this, you know, they as a studio can make a lot of money from. They want to make money. We want to be entertained. We want to be proud of this DC universe. So I believe if both parties do the right things, then these things can be accomplished. And if we don't do these things, then these things won't be accomplished. It's as simple as that. And James Gunn and Peter Safran arriving is being celebrated, rightly so. But I'm not celebrating anything yet until I find out these decisions and these slates and where we're going and who's going to direct the Superman movie is utterly important. So when I see these first decisions being made, then I'll say it's time to celebrate because they're making the right decision. Sam Raimi directing a Superman movie would be the right decision. You know, getting some clown in that fits the bill, of today's mentality. Oh, look, yeah, he ticks that box or she does. Get the right person. I don't care if a woman directs Superman, right? I don't care who directs Superman, as long as it's the right person. And don't just employ a director like Margot Robbie did with Birds of Prey because she happened to be an Asian woman. Now, Kathy Yan and multiple amount of Asian female directors are very, very good. In fact, there's probably better Asian female directors that would have done a better job with that movie. But unfortunately, those other Asian female directors didn't have the Hollywood DNA to get that job. And so this is how crafty they are. But this is going to change now. So going forward, you can't have Margot Robbie and The Rock in charge of their own productions. We see how disastrous those results are. And even though Henry Cavill has come back and he's maintaining some control, ultimately, if he comes up with something dumb, he's got to be told, Henry, we ain't doing that. No actor should be in control of any property. Now, Henry Cavill could be one of the first actors since Mel Gibson to actually understand what it takes to write and direct a movie. And maybe he does have that expertise. I mean, the guy can take apart a PC and put it together. Surely if you can do that, you can put your mind to something, you can accomplish anything. So he's a very impressive guy, Henry Cavill, a very impressive young man. I mean, I'm calling him a young man because I'm 50 and he's 38. So there's a big difference between me and Henry. What about 12 years or so? So, wow. I don't feel like I'm that older than him. But yeah, it is the fact. I've got to accept the fact that I'm 50 now. And there's nothing I can do about it. But I'm still here for now. I haven't killed over yet. Be crazy if I died live on YouTube, wouldn't it? I'd certainly get some views then, wouldn't I? Oh my God, we must see that guy dying on that YouTube live. That would be fun, wouldn't it? What am I talking about? Anyway, yeah. So these are my thoughts and feelings. So later on today, we wait with bated breath as DC Studios. Don't forget, it's still nighttime. They're getting ready to go to bed in America now, mostly. I know the time differences and the time zones are kind of different all over America, but yeah, like in LA, they will be beddy buys now. So once we get to the early evening, late afternoon here in kind of Europe, then we should get some activity. You should see a DC Studios official Twitter account, social media account launch, which will be very, very exciting. And yeah, and we will react to whatever is announced, if anything is announced, and whatever happens late this afternoon, European time, we will react on my daily evening live show. So I can't wait to bring that to you. Ronnie Dodge, Thursday will be interesting with the quarter call. Yes, listen, you don't normally get a lot from them. They might say we're going to be doing this or that. I wouldn't expect too much from that, but hey, what do I know? So yeah, expectations need to be lowered. Then when they do announce something, it's even more exciting, right? I didn't expect these babies to arrive today, right? I didn't expect these babies to arrive today. These are supposed to be my Christmas and birthday presents rolled into one. It was my birthday last week. Now, normally Amazon don't deliver to Cyprus that quickly. So I'm well happy about that because I get to watch, the extended edition to Jurassic World Dominion and these two DC animated movies on the day DC Studios is launched. And how exciting is that, everyone, to be in the middle of this thing, to be a YouTuber and be able to talk about this historic day, that this is the day DC Studios was launched. And this is the day James Gunn and Peter Safran officially took control of the department of DC Studios, a studio in its own right. For me, it's a very proud and exciting day, and things can only get better. Things can only improve from what we've had to put up with in the past 10 years. And again, for the pie eaters at the back, I'll repeat myself. I like a lot, if not most of the DCEU content, but it isn't a franchise. And that's what it claimed it was. It's not an interconnected franchise. It never worked as a franchise, but as a group of movies, there's some brilliant movies in there for sure. Whether or not they're some of the best ever made is for your individual opinion. I still think, in my mind, that Superman the movie, Batman 89, they're movies for me, like Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 from Sam Raimi, X-Men and X-Men 2 from Singer. They're the best comic book movies, and they haven't been bettered for me. Joker, come very close. The Batman doesn't get in there at all. I like it. It has no rewatchability. It's not a classic to me, but I liked it. It's interesting. But also there's a lot of extremism within the writing for that film, the usual kind of stuff. So, yeah, don't forget, he's pretty much calling the Riddler the Fandom Menace YouTubers and his followers as, his subscribers. So there you go. So there's that kind of situation there. Now, I don't claim to be the biggest of supporters of the Fandom Menace, but I do believe that a portion of what they do is important, which they hold this industry to account publicly. Now, they have got this right-wing propaganda, which I don't agree with, but if they hold these idiots to account, whoever it is, I don't really care. And not everything they say is wrong. But then you've got you've got a problem. You've got like the right wing and the far left arguing amongst each other. It's like this thing with Elon Musk on Twitter. Before, we were surrounded by extreme left nut jobs. Now we're surrounded by alt-right nut jobs waving, shagging their flags. And so I don't want my timeline to be either, because I'm not really a political person. Politics mean jack shit to me. As long as people are not being starved, which they are, whether the left have run the world or the right run the world, people are starving and suffering. Children are still being killed and abused. The world hasn't improved by any of these leaderships. So I don't support you on the left and I don't support you on the right. My politics is if someone's on the floor, I give them my hand, put a blanket over them and look after them. That's my fucking politics, and that's how deep my politics go. So I'm fed up of all these fucking propaganda merchants. I want them to get out of my beloved entertainment industry, and I want to start enjoying entertainment. And I don't want right-wing propaganda merchants in my movies as much as I don't want alt-left propaganda merchants in my movies. I don't want any of you. I don't believe in the left, and I don't believe in the right. I don't believe in this fucking system anymore. I don't believe it works. You are hurting ordinary working class people and families, and I won't ever vote for the left or the right. I want a new system where the people run are in charge of their own destinies, and we have this jury service system where every so often different members of the community run their own towns. And if you get that multiplied around the world, that is how the world should be run, and you get rid of central governments. Because what do central governments actually do apart from make money on your fucking hard work? And I know we're not talking about entertainment or DC, and I've gone into one here, but that's how I would run my fucking world. Oh, and yeah, of course, I'd be able to watch hot birds on Instagram and things like that. That would be fun. I would be the ruler of the world, so I can. What's the word? What do they call it when you perv on women? Objectify, yeah. So I'd be objectifying women, but I would be president of the world, so that would be fucking all right. I don't know, I've got into one, I don't give a shit what I say or what I do. I don't care about my reputation. My reputation's been toast since I was fucking born, so it doesn't really matter. So everyone, these are my thoughts and feelings about DC live action. I want it to improve. I want it to be a cohesive franchise. I'll also be happy if there's a Black Label Studios, and if we have, if we kind of have the Batman kind of Suicide Squad studios as well. But we'll see what they do there. So please leave your comments as I get ready to depart today's Tuesday's edition of the DC Universe Daily Live. I hope you enjoyed our little conversation. I will be back tonight with the live show where hopefully, my friends, we will be reacting to the announcement of the official launch of DC Studios and James and Peter's first day as co-chairs at DC Studios. Hopefully we get some movie announcements. I doubt we will, but it'd be interesting to see what they have to say. And if they say anything, you'll hear it first here on Movies TV Mad. This has been Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. Thank you very much.